catalyst for Faust's intellectual and spiritual growth. Through his encounters with the devil, Faust is forced to confront the limits of his own knowledge and to seek a higher truth beyond the confines of traditional religion. Similarly, in the radical politics of the French Revolution, Lucifer became a potent symbol of resistance against the ancien regime of church and monarchy. For the revolutionaries, the fall of Lucifer was reinterpreted as a heroic act of rebellion against the tyranny of heaven, a model for the earthly struggle against oppression and injustice. In this context, the Enlightenment ideal of reason became a weapon in the fight against the irrational dogmas of the past, a beacon of hope for a new age of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Of course, this Enlightenment vision of Lucifer was not without its critics and detractors. For many traditional Christians, the celebration of the fallen angel as a hero of reason and progress was seen as a dangerous and heretical inversion of the biblical narrative. In their view, Lucifer's rebellion against God was not a noble act of defiance, but a tragic example of pride and disobedience, a cautionary tale about the dangers of placing human reason above divine revelation. Moreover, some Enlightenment thinkers themselves recognized the potential dangers of an unchecked rationalism, of a worldview that dismissed the claims of faith and tradition as mere superstition. They saw in the figure of Lucifer a warning about the hubris of the human intellect, the tendency to elevate our own understanding above the wisdom of the ages. In this sense, the Enlightenment reading of Lucifer contained within itself a kind of self-critique, a recognition of the limits and pitfalls of the very ideal it sought to promote. As we reflect on these Enlightenment themes of reason versus faith, we are reminded of the enduring power of the Lucifer mythos to encapsulate some of the deepest tensions and paradoxes of the human condition. For in the struggle between the rebel angel and the divine authority, we see a reflection of our own inner conflicts and contradictions, our yearning for freedom and autonomy, our fear of chaos and uncertainty, our longing for meaning and purpose in a world that often seems indifferent or hostile to our dreams. Ultimately, the Enlightenment reading of Lucifer challenges us to confront these tensions head-on and embrace reason and faith, skepticism and belief, rebellion and tradition. It invites us to question our own assumptions and biases, to seek a higher truth that transcends the narrow confines of dogma and ideology. And it reminds us that the path to genuine enlightenment is never easy or straightforward, but requires a willingness to embrace the unknown, to risk the condemnation of the crowd, to follow the light of our own conscience even in the face of darkness and doubt. As we stand at the threshold of a new era, facing challenges and opportunities that would have been unimaginable to the thinkers of the Enlightenment, the figure of Lucifer remains as relevant and provocative as ever. For in his rebellion and his fall, his pride and his pain, Lucifer embodies the eternal human struggle for knowledge, for freedom, for meaning in a world that often seems cold and unyielding. He is a reminder that the quest for truth and justice is never finished, that the work of reason and progress must be renewed in every generation. So let us embrace the spirit of the Enlightenment, even as we remain mindful of its limitations and dangers. Let us seek to balance the claims of reason and faith, to find a path that honors both the wisdom of tradition and the imperative of change. And let us never forget that the ultimate source of enlightenment lies not in any external authority or ideology, but in the still, small voice of our own conscience, the spark of divine light that burns within us all. For in the end, the story of Lucifer is not just a tale of rebellion and damnation, but a testament to the indomitable human spirit, the endless capacity for growth, for transformation, for transcendence. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility of a new dawn, a new beginning, a new birth of freedom and hope. Throughout our exploration of the many faces of Lucifer, we've seen how this figure has been shaped by the specific historical and cultural context in which he has appeared. From the ancient Near East to contemporary Western society, the evolution of the Lucifer mythos reflects the changing religious, philosophical, and artistic currents of each era. In the biblical tradition, the figure of Lucifer emerges against the backdrop of Jewish monotheism and the struggle to understand the nature of evil in a world created by a benevolent God. The early Christian church fathers, grappling with the challenge of Gnosticism and the legacy of pagan mythology, developed a complex demonology in which Lucifer played a central role as the adversary of Christ and the embodiment of sin. During the medieval period, the figure of Lucifer became a potent symbol of the struggle between orthodoxy and heresy, as the Catholic Church sought to assert its authority against various theological and political challenges. In the popular imagination, the devil became a ubiquitous presence, a terrifying reminder of the dangers of temptation and the necessity of faith. The Renaissance and Reformation brought new perspectives on the figure of Lucifer, as artists and writers began to explore the tragic and heroic dimensions of the fallen angel. In the works of Dante, Milton, and Goethe, among others, Lucifer emerges as a complex and ambiguous figure, a rebel against tyranny, and a symbol of the human struggle for knowledge and freedom. With the advent of the Enlightenment, the figure of Lucifer took on new significance as a champion of reason and progress against the forces of superstition and dogma. In the revolutionary fervor of the 18th and 19th centuries, the fallen angel became a potent symbol of political and social liberation, a heroic figure in the struggle against oppression and justice. For in the end, the story of Lucifer is not just a tale of rebellion and damnation, but a testament to the indomitable human spirit, the endless capacity for growth, for transformation, for transcendence. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility of a new dawn, a new beginning, a new birth of freedom and hope. Throughout our exploration of the many faces of Lucifer, we've seen how this figure has been shaped by the specific historical and cultural context in which he has appeared. From the ancient Near East to contemporary Western society, the evolution of the Lucifer mythos reflects the changing religious, philosophical, and artistic currents of each era. In the biblical tradition, the figure of Lucifer emerges against the backdrop of Jewish monotheism and the struggle to understand the nature of evil in a world created by a benevolent God. The early Christian church fathers, grappling with the challenge of Gnosticism and the legacy of pagan mythology, developed a complex demonology in which Lucifer played a central role as the adversary of Christ and the embodiment of sin. During the medieval period, the figure of Lucifer became a potent symbol of the struggle between orthodoxy and heresy, as the Catholic Church sought to assert its authority against various theological and political challenges. In the popular imagination, the devil became a ubiquitous presence, a terrifying reminder of the dangers of temptation and the necessity of faith. The Renaissance and Reformation brought new perspectives on the figure of Lucifer, as artists and writers began to explore the tragic and heroic dimensions of the fallen angel. In the works of Dante, Milton, and Goethe, among others, Lucifer emerges as a complex and ambiguous figure, a rebel against tyranny, and a symbol of the human struggle for knowledge and freedom. With the advent of the Enlightenment, the figure of Lucifer took on new significance as a champion of reason and progress against the forces of superstition and dogma. In the revolutionary fervor of the 18th and 19th centuries, the fallen angel became a potent symbol of political and social liberation, a heroic figure in the struggle against oppression and justice. In the modern era, the figure of Lucifer has been shaped by the rise of secularism, individualism, and mass media. In popular culture, the devil has become a ubiquitous presence, a symbol of rebellion, sensuality, and the dark side of human nature. At the same time, the figure of Lucifer has been reinterpreted by new religious and spiritual movements, from theosophy and anthroposophy to contemporary Satanism and Luciferianism. By situating the various interpretations of Lucifer within their specific historical and cultural contexts, we can better understand the enduring power of this archetypal figure to reflect the hopes, fears, and aspirations of different societies and worldviews. As we continue to touch the complex legacy of this symbol in our own time, it is essential to recognize the ways in which our understanding of Lucifer is shaped by the particular circumstances of our own historical moment. As we come to the end of our exploration of the many faces of Lucifer, we are left with a profound sense of the enduring power and complexity of this archetypal figure. From the biblical serpent in the Garden of Eden to the tragic hero of Renaissance literature, from the rebel angel of the Enlightenment to the dark seducer of modern popular culture, Lucifer has taken on a dizzying array of forms and meanings across the centuries. Through comparative mythology, we have seen how the figure of Lucifer resonates with other trickster and devil figures across different cultural traditions, embodying the eternal human struggle against the constraints of divine authority and the limitations of mortal existence. Through biblical interpretation and theological reflection, we have grappled with the profound questions of evil, free will, and the nature of the divine that are raised by the story of Lucifer's fall and subsequent warnings the adversary of humanity. In the realms of art, literature, and popular culture, we have explored the many ways in which the figure of Lucifer has been reimagined and reinterpreted across the centuries, from the grotesque demons of medieval iconography to the suave and seductive anti-heroes of contemporary film and television. We have seen how these artistic representations both reflect and shape our cultural attitudes towards evil, transgression, individuality, and the search for meaning in a postmodern world. Through the lens of psychology, we have delved into the symbolic significance of Lucifer as a manifestation of the Jungian shadow, the dark and repressed aspects of the human psyche. We have explored the ways in which the confrontation with this inner darkness can lead to profound transformation and self-awareness, as well as the dangers of projection and scapegoating that can arise when we fail to integrate the Luciferian aspects of our own nature. Finally, we have considered the historical and cultural contexts in which the figure of Lucifer has evolved over time, from the dualistic cosmologies of the ancient world to the secular and individualistic ethos of modernity. We have seen how the changing face of Lucifer reflects the shifting values, beliefs, and power structures of different societies, as well as the enduring human fascination with the mysteries of good and evil, light and darkness, rebellion and conformity. As we reflect on the rich and multifaceted legacy of this enduring archetype, it is clear that the figure of Lucifer continues to exert a powerful hold on our collective imagination. Whether we see him as a literal fallen angel, a metaphorical embodiment of human pride and disobedience, or a psychological projection of our own deepest fears and desires, Lucifer remains a potent and provocative symbol of the eternal human struggle for knowledge, freedom, and self-determination. In the end, perhaps the greatest lesson we can take from our exploration of the many faces of Lucifer is the recognition of the profound complexity and ambiguity of the human condition. Like the fallen angel himself, we are beings of light and darkness, capable of great good and great evil, forever struggling to find our place in a world that is both beautiful and terrible, sacred and profane. By embracing the Luciferian aspects of our own nature, our curiosity, our creativity, our yearning for transcendence, while also acknowledging the shadow side of pride, rebellion, and destructiveness, we may yet find a way to navigate the chiaroscuro landscape of our own souls. In doing so, we may discover that the path to genuine enlightenment, liberation, lies not in the rejection of darkness, but in the integration of light and shadow, the reconciliation of opposites, and the realization of our own divine potential. So let us give thanks for the enduring mystery and power of the Lucifer mythos, which continues to inspire, challenge, As we navigate the twisting paths of the Lucifer mythos, we find ourselves confronted again and again with the fundamental questions of free will and rebellion against authority. These are the great fault lines that run through the heart of the Lucifer story, the tectonic plates of meaning whose collisions and ruptures give rise to the existential earthquakes that shake the foundations of our understanding. At the core of this debate lies the figure of Lucifer himself, the archetype of the rebel par excellence. In his defiance of God's authority, his willful rejection of the divine order, Lucifer embodies the ultimate act of free will, the choice to say no to the very source of his being. It is a choice that resonates deeply with the human condition, the primal impulse to assert our own agency and autonomy in the face of the forces that would constrain and control us. In this sense, Lucifer's rebellion can be seen as a metaphor for the eternal human struggle for self-determination and liberty. From the earliest stirrings of human consciousness, we have chafed against the bonds of tradition, dogma, and authority, seeking to carve out a space for our own will and desire. Whether in the realm of politics, religion, or personal relationships, the drive to rebel, to break free from the shackles of oppression and conformity, has been a constant throughout history. And yet, as the Lucifer myth so powerfully demonstrates, the exercise of free will is never without consequence. In choosing to rebel against God, Lucifer sets in motion a chain of events that leads inexorably to his own downfall and damnation. His pride and his refusal to submit to a higher power ultimately consume him, casting him out of heaven and into the abyss of eternal darkness.
Well.
This cautionary aspect of the Lucifer story has long been emphasized by religious and moral authorities, who see in the fallen angel a warning against the dangers of unchecked individualism and the arrogance of the self. In this view, Lucifer's rebellion is the ultimate sin, the source of all the evil and suffering in the world, and a testament to the necessity of obedience and humility before the divine order. And yet, even as the traditional narrative condemns Lucifer's rebellion, it cannot entirely suppress the seductive allure of his defiance. For in daring to stand against the might of heaven, in asserting his own judgment in the face of the ultimate authority, Lucifer becomes a symbol of the indomitable human spirit, the Promethean fire that burns within us all. This duality is captured brilliantly in Milton's Paradise Lost, where Satan emerges as a complex and tragic hero, a figure of terrible beauty and pathos, whose very damnation is a kind of triumph. In his famous declaration, "Better to reign on sword in heaven," Satan gives voice to the rebel's freedom, the unquenchable thirst for freedom and self-determination that animates the human heart. And so, as we grapple with the themes of free will and rebellion in the Lucifer myth, we are forced to confront the fundamental paradoxes of the human condition. On the one hand, we yearn for freedom, for the power to shape our own destiny and to live according to our own will and desire. On the other hand, we recognize the necessity of limits, of structure and authority, of the boundaries that hold us together as individuals and as a society. In the end, perhaps the true lesson of the Lucifer story is that the exercise of free will is always a double-edged sword, a choice that carries with it both the possibility of liberation and the risk of damnation. As we navigate the labyrinth of our own lives, as we struggle to find our own path amidst the competing forces of freedom and fate, we must learn to walk the razor's edge between rebellion and responsibility, between the assertion of our own will and the recognition of our fate in the greater order of things. For in the final analysis, the choice to rebel, to say no to the powers that be, is a choice that each of us must make for ourselves. It is a choice that will shape the contours of our own destiny, that will determine the legacy we leave behind in the world. And as we make that choice, as we take that leap into the unknown, we would do well to remember the lessons of the Lucifer myth, the perils and the possibilities of free will, the glory and the tragedy of the rebel's path. The rebellion burns within us, the unquenchable fire of the human spirit that drives us ever forward into the unknown. But let us also remember the price of that rebellion, the responsibility we bear for the consequences of our choices. For in the end, it is not Lucifer's fate that hangs in the balance, but our own, the fate of our own souls and of the world we will leave behind. We find ourselves enveloped in a world of shadows and illumination, where the eternal dance of light and darkness plays out in a symphony of symbols and metaphors. At the center of this chiaroscuro canvas stands the figure of Lucifer himself, the bringer of light, whose very name evokes the dawn and the morning star, the harbinger of a new day. And yet, as we have seen throughout our journey, the light that Lucifer represents is no simple or straightforward. It is a light that casts shadow, a light that blinds even as it illuminates, a light that can lead us into the depths of the abyss as surely as it can guide us to the heights of enlightenment. In the Western esoteric tradition, the light of Lucifer is often associated with the light of knowledge, the Promethean fire that awakens the mind and ignites the spark of consciousness within the human soul. It is the light of gnosis, the inner illumination that pierces the veil of illusion and reveals the hidden nature of reality. In this sense, Lucifer is a bringer of enlightenment, a guide who leads the seeker out of the darkness of ignorance and into the light of understanding. And yet, as the myth of the fall so powerfully demonstrates, this same light can also be a source of temptation and transgression, a seductive flame that lures us away from the path of righteousness and into the shadows of sin. The knowledge that Lucifer offers is a forbidden fruit, a tantalizing glimpse of the divine that comes at the price of exile and suffering. In tasting of this fruit, in partaking of the light of Lucifer, we are cast out of the garden of innocence and into the wilderness of experience, where we must handle the consequences of our own choices and desires. This duality of light and darkness, of knowledge and transgression, is reflected in the rich symbolism that surrounds the figure of Lucifer. In the book of Isaiah, Lucifer is described as the morning star, the shining one who falls from heaven like light. This celestial imagery evokes the brilliance and the beauty of the divine, the radiant splendor of the angelic realms. And yet, in falling from these lofty heights, Lucifer becomes a creature of the shadows, a denizen of the underworld who presides over the darkness of the abyss. In the same way, the light that Lucifer brings to humanity is a light that casts a long shadow, a light that reveals the darkness within our own souls. For in illuminating the hidden recesses of our psyche, in awakening us to the depths of our own desires and fears, Lucifer forces us to confront the shadow self, the repressed and rejected aspects of our own being. This is the dark night of the soul, the initiatory ordeal that we must undergo in order to emerge into the light of self-knowledge and self-transformation.
I'll choke the shit out your ass again.
Even as we grapple with the shadows within, we cannot help but be drawn to the light that Lucifer represents, the tantalizing promise of illumination and transcendence. For the light of Lucifer is also the light of the imagination, the creative fire that fuels our dreams and our visions, our hopes and our aspirations. It is the light of the rebel and the revolutionary, the Promethean spirit that dares to challenge the status quo and to imagine a world beyond the confines of the given. In this sense, the symbolism of light and darkness in the Lucifer myth is not simply a matter of good and evil, of right and wrong. Rather, it is a complex and dynamic interplay of forces, a dance of opposites that mirrors the fundamental duality of the human condition. For we are creatures of both light and shadow, beings who straddle the boundary between the known and the unknown, the conscious and the unconscious, the mortal and the divine. And so, as we contemplate the meaning of Lucifer's life, we are forced to confront the paradox of our own existence, the mystery of a world where darkness and illumination are inextricably intertwined. We must learn to navigate the chiaroscuro landscape of our own souls, to embrace the shadows even as we seek the light, to find the courage to face the darkness within and without. For in the end, the true light of Lucifer is not a light that dispels the darkness, but a light that illuminates it, that reveals its hidden depths and its secret beauty. It is a light that teaches us to see with new eyes, to perceive the world in all its complexity and its contradictions, to embrace the fullness of the human experience in all its terror and its wonder. And as we step into this light, as we dare to follow the path of the morning star, we may find that the shadows are not our enemies but our allies, the necessary counterpart to the light that guides us on our journey. For it is only in the interplay of light and darkness, in the dance of opposites, that we can hope to discover the truth of our own being, the mystery of the self that lies at the heart of the Lucifer myth. So let us not fear the darkness, but let us learn to see with eyes of shadow. Let us embrace the light of Lucifer, not as a simple answer or a final destination, but as a guiding star that leads us ever deeper into the labyrinth of our own souls. And let us trust that in the end, the light will lead us home, to a place of wholeness and integration, where the darkness and the light are one, and the mystery of existence is revealed in all its terrible and beautiful glory. As we journey through the vast and varied landscape of world mythology, we find that the figure of Lucifer is far from alone in his role as the rebellious antagonist of the divine order. In countless cultures and traditions, we encounter other gods, demigods, and mythical beings who share striking similarities with the fallen angel of the Judeo-Christian tradition. From the cunning Loki, our Norse mythology, to the trickster coyote, these rebel gods and trickster figures serve as a powerful reminder that the archetype of the divine rebel is a universal one, a symbol that speaks to something deep and primal within the human psyche. Whether they are cast as heroes or villains, saviors or destroyers, these mythic beings embody the eternal struggle between order and chaos, tradition and innovation, the status quo and the forces of change. In many ways, these figures can be seen as the shadow side of the ruling deities, the necessary counterbalance to the forces of stability and authority. Just as Lucifer rebels against the tyranny of heaven, so too do these other divine rebels challenge the established order, questioning the very foundations of the cosmos and the nature of divine law. Take, for example, the figure of Prometheus in Greek mythology. Like Lucifer, Prometheus is a bringer of light and knowledge, stealing the divine fire of the gods and gifting it to humanity. And like Lucifer, Prometheus pays a terrible price for his transgression, chained to a rock where an eagle forever pecks at his regenerating liver. Yet Prometheus is also a figure of great nobility and self-sacrifice, willing to suffer eternal torment for the sake of human progress and enlightenment. Similarly, in Norse mythology, we find the figure of Loki, the trickster god who delights in sowing chaos and discord among the gods of Asgard. Loki is a shapeshifter and a master of disguise, able to assume any form and to manipulate reality itself. Yet Loki is also a tragic figure, driven by his own insecurities and resentments, forever seeking to undermine the authority of Odin and the other gods. In Egyptian mythology, we encounter the god Set, the lord of darkness and chaos, who battles against the forces of light and order. Set is a fearsome and formidable figure associated with violence, destruction, and the untamed power of the destiny. Yet Set is also a necessary part of the cosmic balance, the yang to the yin of Osiris and Horus, the shadow that gives depth and meaning to the light. And in the mythology of the Americas, we find a rich tradition of trickster figures, from the coyote of the southwest to the raven of the Pacific Northwest. These tricksters are often portrayed as mischievous and unpredictable beings, forever getting into trouble and upsetting the natural order. Yet they are also powerful creators and transformers, able to shape the world through their wit and their magic, their cunning and their craft. As we contemplate these other rebel gods and trickster figures, we begin to see the deeper patterns and meanings that underlie the Lucifer archetype. We see that the divine rebel is not simply a figure of evil and destruction, but a complex and multifaceted symbol that embodies both the light and the darkness, the creative and the destructive, the noble and the base. For in challenging the established order, in questioning the very nature of divine authority, these mythic beings force us to confront the fundamental questions of existence. Who are we? Why are we here? What is the meaning and purpose of our lives? These are the questions that lie at the heart of all mythology, the enduring mysteries that have haunted the human imagination since the dawn of time. We are forced to confront the rebel and the trickster within ourselves, the part of us that yearns to break free from the constraints that involve. We are reminded that the path of the rebel is never an easy one, that it is a path fraught with danger and sacrifice, with suffering and loss. Yet we are also reminded that it is only through rebellion and struggle that we can hope to grow and evolve, to transcend the limitations of our own nature, and to glimpse the infinite possibilities of the universe. For in the end, the divine rebel is not our enemy, but our ally, the force that propels us forward on the path of self-discovery and self-transformation. So let us embrace the rebel and the trickster within. Let us learn to dance with the forces of chaos and change. Let us take inspiration from the mythic beings who have gone before us, who have dared to challenge the gods, and to stake their claim in the great cosmic realm. And let us trust that in the end, the path of the rebel will lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and of the world we inhabit, to a place of wisdom and power, of freedom and grace. For the way of the rebel is the way of the soul, the hero's journey that leads us ever on into the unknown. And though the path may be dark and the way unclear, we can take comfort in the knowledge that we do not walk alone, that we are part of a great and ancient tradition, a lineage of mythic rebels and tricksters who have blazed the trail before us. So let us go forth with courage and with faith. Let us embrace the darkness and the light, the chaos and the order, the rebel and the trickster within. And let us trust that, in the end, the journey will be worth it, that the treasures we seek will be found, and that the mysteries of existence will be revealed in all their terrible and beautiful glory. As we explore the many faces of Lucifer across the realms of myth, religion and culture, we find ourselves entering a shadowy and often misunderstood domain, the world of the occult and the esoteric. Here, in the secret societies and mystery schools, the magical lodges and New Age circles, the figure of Lucifer takes on new and often surprising forms, revealing dimensions of meaning that challenge and transcend the conventional narratives of good and evil. In the Western esoteric tradition, Lucifer is often seen as a bringer of enlightenment, a Promethean figure who challenges the boundaries of human knowledge and consciousness. From the Gnostic sects of late antiquity to the Hermetic philosophers of the Renaissance, from the Rosicrucians and Freemasons of the Enlightenment to the Theosophists and Anthroposophists of the modern age, Lucifer has been invoked as a symbol of liberation and self-realization, a guide on the path of spiritual awakening. In these esoteric contexts, the fall of Lucifer is often interpreted not as a literal event, but as a metaphor for the descent of the divine spark into the realm of matter, the incarnation of spirit in the world of form. Lucifer becomes the light bearer who illuminates the darkness of the material plane, the rebel angel who defies the demiurge and seeks to free humanity from the bonds of ignorance and illusion. This Gnostic vision of Lucifer is perhaps most fully articulated in the work of Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian philosopher and esotericist who founded the anthroposophical movement in the early 20th century. For Steiner, Lucifer is not an evil being, but a necessary agent of human evolution, a cosmic force that challenges us to develop our own inner strength and wisdom. In Steiner's cosmology, Lucifer is balanced by the opposing force of Ahriman, the spirit of materialism and darkness, and it is only through the mediation of the Christ impulse that humanity can find its true path of spiritual development. Similarly, in the Luciferian current of modern occultism, the fallen angel is seen as a symbol of rebellion against the tyranny of the demiurge, the false god who created the material world as a trap for the divine spark of human consciousness. For practitioners of this path, Lucifer is the bringer of gnosis, the liberator who offers the keys to spiritual freedom and self-transformation. Through rituals of invocation and magical workings, the Luciferian seeks to awaken the latent powers of the psyche and to align themselves with the cosmic forces of chaos and change. In the New Age movement, Lucifer often takes on a more positive and benevolent aspect, associated with the energies of transformation, creativity, and spiritual growth. Here, the fallen angel is seen as a teacher and guide, a being of light who helps us to break free from the limitations of the ego and to realize our true divine nature. In this context, Lucifer is often invoked alongside other celestial beings such as angels, ascended masters, and extraterrestrial intelligences as part of the cosmic hierarchy of spiritual evolution. Of course, these esoteric and New Age visions of Lucifer are not without their controversies and critics. For many traditional religious authorities, the invocation of Lucifer in any form is seen as a dangerous and heretical practice, a violation of divine law that can only lead to spiritual corruption and damnation. And for skeptics and rationalists, the claims of occult and New Age traditions are often dismissed as mere superstition and fantasy, the product of wishful thinking and psychological projection. Yet for those who walk the path of the occult and the esoteric, the figure of Lucifer remains a powerful and enduring symbol, the key to the mysteries of the self and the cosmos. Whether seen as a literal being or a metaphorical object, a force of light or a spirit of darkness, Lucifer continues to fascinate and inspire, to challenge us to question our assumptions and to seek our own truth beyond the veil of appearances. As we contemplate the role of Lucifer in these esoteric traditions, we are reminded of the ultimate mystery and ambiguity of the divine, the fact that the deepest truths often lie beyond the reach of dogma. We are challenged to embrace the paradox and the complexity of the spiritual path, to recognize that light and darkness, good and evil, are not always what they seem, and that the journey of awakening often leads us through strange and uncharted territories of the soul. In the end, perhaps the true gift of Lucifer is not any particular teaching or revelation, but rather the invitation to question, to seek, to explore the hidden dimensions of reality and consciousness. For it is only by embracing the unknown, by daring to rebel against the limitations of the given, that we can hope to discover our own inner life, to awaken to the divinity that dwells within us all. So let us approach the figure of Lucifer in these esoteric contexts with an open mind and a discerning spirit, with a willingness to learn from the wisdom of the past, even as we chart our own path into the future. Let us be guided by the light of gnosis and the fire of spiritual aspiration, even as we remain grounded in the realities of the material world and the demands of ethical action. And let us remember that in the end, the true meaning of Lucifer lies not in any external doctrine or tradition, but in the depths of our own being, in the spark of divine consciousness that animates us all. For it is only by embracing the Lucifer within, by facing the darkness and the light with equal courage and compassion, that we can hope to achieve the ultimate goal of the esoteric path, the realization of our own inherent divinity, the awakening to the cosmic consciousness that is our birthright and our destiny. We arrive at a towering landmark in the landscape of literature, John Milton's epic masterpiece Paradise Lost. Published in 1667, this monumental work of poetry has shaped our understanding of Lucifer and the fall, like no other text save perhaps the Bible itself. In Milton's vivid and compelling portrayal, Lucifer emerges as a complex and tragic figure, a rebel whose defiance of God's authority is at once heroic and pugilistic, noble and doomed. At the heart of Paradise Lost lies the figure of Lucifer, or Satan as he is more commonly known in Milton's text. Cast out of heaven for leading a rebellion against God, Lucifer and his fellow fallen angels find themselves exiled to the depths of hell, a realm of darkness and despair. Yet even in this bleak and hopeless place, Lucifer's spirit remains unbroken, his pride and ambition unbroken. In one of the most famous speeches in all of literature, he declares, "The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of death on earth." These words capture the essence of Milton's Lucifer, a being of immense willpower and imagination who refuses to submit to any authority other than his own. For Lucifer, the freedom to choose his own path, even if that path leads to damnation, is the highest value, the very core of his identity. Throughout Paradise Lost, Milton imbues Lucifer with a sense of tragic grandeur, a nobility of spirit that shines through even in his darkest moments. We see this in the vivid descriptions of Lucifer's physical beauty and charisma, in the power and eloquence of his speeches, and in the loyalty and devotion he inspires in his fellow fallen angels. Even as we recognize the evil of his actions, we cannot help but be moved by the sheer force of his personality, the magnetism of his presence. At the same time, Milton does not shy away from depicting the darker aspects of Lucifer's character, his pride, his envy, his deceitfulness. We see this most clearly in the temptation of Eve, where Lucifer, disguised as a serpent, lures her into eating the forbidden fruit with honeyed words and false promises. Here, Milton reveals the seductive power of evil, the way in which Lucifer's lies and manipulations can twist the human heart and lead us astray. Yet even in this moment of temptation and fall, Milton suggests a deeper complexity to Lucifer's character. For in tempting Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, Lucifer is not merely acting out of malice or spite, but out of a genuine belief in the power of knowledge and free will. He sees himself as a liberator, a bringer of enlightenment to humanity, even as he knows that this enlightenment will come at a terrible cost. This duality, the tension between Lucifer's noble aspirations and his destructive actions, lies at the heart of Milton's portrayal. Throughout Paradise Lost, we are invited to experience with the complex morality